The views expressed on this Turnbuckle Tabloid live stream or Turnbuckle Tabloid podcast episode do not reflect the views, thoughts, or opinions of the Rageworks brand, including the Rageworks podcast network, Rageworks content partners, advertisers, and affiliates. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody? It's Brad Williams, and you are listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid.
Turnbuckle Tabloid.
3, 2, 1.
Bring the in-ring action home to your tabletop with the #1 wrestling card game in the world, Super Show the Game, and live all your wildest wrestling fantasies without ever taking a chair shot. Available on supershowthegame.com. Order today and join a spectacle so grand it can only be called the Super Show.
Hey, yo, this is the blue-eyed devil himself, Mr. Good Times Only, the master of the boot party. You're listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid, baby.
Give me a fucking mic! Turnbuckle Tabloid, cutting a promo. All right, now I'm back. All right. Ever since I had to update this whole fucking program here, I had to change all the outlets and audio inputs and outputs. It's getting to be goddamn ridiculous. Just like in the wrestling world, ladies and gentlemen. Yikes. Yeah, it's been, for anybody who's trying to call through, my fault. It's just because I was trying to get everything working, and all the, Ben will tell you, thank you, Ben, to let you know. You can call in, it'll be fine. Phone lines will be open, 315-371-4367. That's 315-371-4367. Conversation of today. It's going to be 3 parts for the episode. For the live stream, I'm going to basically give you guys my thoughts and opinions on what occurred this past night on Raw. Second part of Cutting a Promo will be just a review of Slammiversary as well as Money in the Bank. But before I go into that, I got to tell you guys, I don't understand the toxicity that's occurring these days in wrestling. It's bad. It's getting real bad. And I'm talking about the fan base. You guys are the most fickle, jaded, and toxic fan base in the history of anything in the culture of sports, anything in the realm of entertainment, the wrestling. And mind you, this speaks from an individual. These are words from an individual who is probably most negative and most harsh on the products, because fact being is because I love wrestling and I want to see good, if not great, wrestling. I am a historian of watching fun, exciting, captivating wrestling matches. It's gotten to a point to where, yes, the past couple of years, especially when it's come, during this pandemic era, that wrestling has not been up to par. I guess, I don't know if promotions are sitting there waiting for fans to come back. They were waiting for that to occur. I guess that we're looking at a landscape to where that people were, trying to move away from watching wrestling, getting involved in what has been going on outside of not having a fan base in attendance. Yes, I can say it myself. It was excruciating to watch. I agree. But I also say that when you're finally getting something, when something is clicking, when something is on the horizon, maybe. Hell, I've been bashing AEW for the past few months about their nonsensical storylines, their lack of continuance of angles, matches are nonsensical as well. I've been doing that for months on end, but when things are good, I give the credit where credit is due. Hell, I've been giving them a good ride for the past couple of weeks, especially now that they're building up on the Adam Page and Omega storyline. I've been wholeheartedly on top of that because we've been asking for it for a long time. Hell, I've been riding high on Darby Allin. MJF is one of those guys that I think is the future of wrestling. I give credit where credit is due. Same could be said about Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor has been one of those companies that didn't have the ability to have the fan base or the reach to have it. But when they did, it was entertaining wrestling. But then, of course, when we look at WWE, we look at Raw, we look at what they basically been calling in for the longest time. It's like, even I have pulled back and said, I don't think I could watch this anymore. It got to that point. Phone lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. 315-371-4367. That's 315-371-4367. Sorry about early on. It was just because I was trying to get the audio set up and now everything's running. So if you guys want to call in, it's fine. But I've been looking at social media the past day after Raw, and it takes a lot for me not to go back and forth in these social media groups and these wrestling groups, because I always say, you want to hear my opinion? You want to hear my thoughts on something? Tune into the podcast. That's where the bread is buttered at. That's where I do my real banter. And hell, I look forward to callers to call in to have a conversation with me on their opinions, or, be it opposed to what I say. That's what I want. I want to have a line of communication. I don't want to argue. I don't want to debate. I want to have a conversation, because at the end of the day, a lot of individuals who are watching the product and have the first notion of throwing negativity out to the world, honestly, don't have a creative bone in their body. Not nutter one. None. Anytime that I would have a conversation with somebody and I go, okay, you didn't like something about this match, or you didn't like something about the storyline, you don't like anything that's going on with the promotion, what would you do different? And every time I have this conversation with individuals, they tell me either the obvious, which is they're putting their favorite wrestler over, never to have any storyline, any climax, any branching of an angle in which will make the return back to what the main story is. I couldn't even ask you to book Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania to WrestleMania, because a lot of you guys wouldn't even know. You probably couldn't even book anything on WWE 2K series or on Fire Pro GM. Like, you wouldn't, hell, you probably wouldn't even be able to book a promotion or book matches on fucking, on AEW GMO, which, by the way, reviews coming out soon for that. I have some thoughts about that, but, yeah, I always run into that same obstacle when I have conversations with people, and it's only a rare few where people will have their thoughts, their opinions and stuff. And it's always those that either know wrestling or they have a creative bone in their body, or they've done it. They know how to put stories together or know what makes best. The one thing that WWE or any promotion will tell you will be like, okay, I want you to book an angle for such and such. And it's not even their top tier wrestler. They won't even do it to your main eventers. They'll tell you, book me a story for Kip Sabian. Book me a story for Jinder Mahal. Like, it's easy to book for a main eventer, but if you knew what the business was about, or you think you know what it is and you think you know more it is, and I'm not going to talk like I'm some kind of insider, like I've been in the business, or I know, like I said, I'm creative. I'm a story, like I create stories. I've done this, not in wrestling, but outside. I've written scripts. I've done, written books. I've gotten grades on it. I've gotten, accolades of what I've done. Even just how I go through life. It's all about creativity. Hell, I created a fucking podcast that gets hundreds of downloads and streams every week. Been doing this shit for 4 years. And every time I got to get more creative. Got to do bits. Got to do, got to do sketches, got to do something that embraces not only the current audience, but also new audience. But a lot of you guys, the first thing y'all want to do is pick up your phones and bitch and moan about what the fuck is happening in a product and never have any justification of how to fix it, what makes it better, or what goes down. So with that being said, in my rant, I'll discuss about what happened. Usually we'll save this for Around the Square Circle. And it's something I wanted to address because I got into a conversation with just one person that was on another social media app, and it wasn't anything that was long. I just had to make a proclamation because we had on Raw that occurred this past night where you got a title change, you got a debut, and you got a return. You got three things that many of us wanted to see, waited to see, and when it occurred, the fan base just lost their shit in negativity. And this is after a pay-per-view that was actually, in my opinion, pretty damn good. A lot of you guys could probably bitch and moan about it, but in my opinion, for many weeks, for many months, WWE hasn't been clicking on all cylinders. But for me, that pay-per-view was pretty damn interesting, pretty good, and kept me intrigued. So this past Raw, we got, like I said, a debut, a return, and a title change, right? Okay, let's go first. I'll just go down with the easiest thing to go with first. The title change. The women's title was defended on the main event on Raw, which is rarely done where you get a women's title match on Raw. Charlotte retains, and high fashion. I wasn't even mad that she won at Money in the Bank. I was fine with that. She retains. Of course, you get the afterbirth where Rhea Ripley attacks and all this shit, whatever the case may be. And you get the cash in by the Money in the Bank winner, Nikki ASH, right? She cashes in. She wins the women's title, right? First thing I hear from all you guys is, oh, Charlotte didn't even have the belt for X amount of hours and they're already burying her. Stop using terminology that you have no idea how to use. This is the one thing that even I have come to the realization when I speak to other wrestlers, when I speak to other promoters, when I speak to people who are on the inside, that they say, I hate hearing individuals use words that they do not understand how to use them. It's nauseating. It's horrible lingo when you don't know how to use. It's just like when you hear somebody using big words in a conversation, these $1 million words, and you know they have no idea what the fuck the words means. They wouldn't even know where to look up the word to find out what it means. But you use these things, oh, they already buried it. You don't even know what the fuck buried is. Oh, they're already jobbing them out. Don't you? I want to give you guys a quick perception of what WWE is. I've been saying it for months or probably even years. WWE is Disney. Any other promotion, they're Six Flags. Disney makes the most money. In the wrestling world, WWE makes the most money. They just don't cater to wrestling fans. They cater or try to cater to everyone. If you're not a roller coaster person, then you're going to go to Disney to go see, the mascots, or you're going to go get on the teacups, or you're going to see the shows. If you just want to get on rides, you're going to go to Six Flags. That's what AEW is. Impact, Ring of Honor. Those are shows. If you want to watch just wrestling, then you watch those shows. I've been saying that for the longest. Hell, even I have to, take the castor oil and eat it when I have to feel better after watching WWE, because it's not really wrestling. It's just, it's wrestling, but it's just entertainment. It's going to give you, feel good moments, but not all the time. You're going to wait for those moments. WWE is not catering to wrestling fans anymore. They're looking bigger than that. So when Nikki wins because they lost a major person that makes connections with the fan base. After the pop that she got on Money in the Bank, that day, come Monday morning, somebody said, did you hear that pop? She's cashing in because she's already getting a following. And once they lost Bayley, because Bayley was their big face when it came to the females, when it comes to the fan base. Name a woman on the roster right now besides their champion, Bianca Belair, who's making that connection other than that. No one else. All the women are assholes. They're bitches, whatever the case we want to say that they are. But no one is making that connection. Nikki's going to go out there with that belt, and she's going to go and, do the the charity shows, the events, even if she has it for a little bit of time, holding that belt, that gimmick is going to go over well to bring back some kind of connection with the fan base. Then we go to the return of Keith Lee. Now, the return of Keith Lee, everybody's like, okay, we're happy that he's back. And he's in his home state. He gets the pop, whatever the case may be. He's going head to head with Bobby Lashley on an open challenge, right? Okay. We haven't seen Lee since January. Regardless of what you think, oh, he didn't have he wasn't injured. He didn't have this. They just didn't have anything for him. Okay, fine. Let's say that was the premise, that they didn't have anything for him. I'm always of the assertion where if you don't leave, I don't miss you. I miss you when you're gone. Keith Lee was gone. And at the point in time, they had him in a weird mid-card kind of entanglement with, the Riddles, the Sheamus. They had him all tangled up in there. So I was like, okay, let's move him out of here. He did test positive for COVID. He did suffer an injury. So rather him come back quickly, him being a big guy that he is and having the injury that he had, that was said, let's leave him off of TV for a minute. He comes back and has his first match with Bobby, right? Now, Ben, you'll probably get the correlation to this, or anybody who's a sports fan, you'll get a correlation to this. But Ben, we'll take this in consideration, right? You're a football guy. You're a soccer guy. Messi gets injured and he's out for a year. His first return back onto the pitch, everyone is expecting him to score a goal, to do something major, right? And he goes onto the pitch. He hasn't played in a match for over a year. Of course, everybody wants the feel-good story that he comes out and scores, but you still got to get on the pitch and get a feel of the game again. You want to get back into it. So Keith comes back and he hasn't been in the ring for 7 months. You're going to automatically assume that once he gets back into the ring, he's going to be ring ready to go and fucking take out the world heavyweight champion of WWE. He hasn't been in the ring for 7 months, but you expect him to beat the champion on the first night back because the biggest thing that you've ever heard in WWE is that it's so predictable. And mind you, predictability is fine if you build up to something good and then, possibilities occur, but you get the predictable result. Bobby was going to win. So Keith Lee not being in the ring for 7 months, you expect him to look like a superstar. Not many people could do that. Not many people has that ability to do that. Plus, it makes for better storylines to say he's working out the ring rust than to come back and then he can be a competitor. But, everybody's just like, oh, that's bullshit. Once again, they buried him on the first night, right? Okay. Now, everybody's complaining about Goldberg. Goldberg makes his return. I'm not a fan of this either. I'm done with this shit. Like, they should just put him out the pasture, make glue out of this man. But the fact that we've already heard stories for the past year or so that Goldberg is obligated to 2 matches a year for 2 years. So he has this match, which will be the second one of the year, and you will not hear from him again until next year. Right. And this is, once again, a novelty thing. This isn't anything new. Andre was a novelty thing. He had one-shots that he would do, that he would come in, make a guest spot for a couple of weeks, couple of months in a promotion, then he was gone. Never won a title, never did any of that shit, but he was a novelty. Did you hear the pop that happened when Goldberg came out? That's all WWE gives a fuck about. That's all they care about. The crowd goes apeshit. And it wasn't like it was piped in audio because the fans who were there admitted that he got a huge pop. You heard it in videos that he got a huge pop. That's all WWE cares about. They only care about that. So he'll be there, probably get into a 5-minute match with Bobby. Then it's donezo. And we move on to the next angle. Then you won't see Goldberg again. Now, the possibility of him winning, then I might have a problem with. Then I'll sit there and fucking and lambast this shit. But other than that, this is all a build-up for the return of fans coming back. So at SummerSlam, you get Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley. Fantasy booking, right? Okay. Finally, we get to the Karrion Kross debut. Okay. We've already seen and heard, that there's the possibility that he's going to be full-time main event guy, main roster guy there, right? And for the longest, everybody's like, well, as soon as he gets up there, they're going to just bury him because he's an NXT guy. Granted, we have a history of knowing that Vince has a history of humbling a lot of these NXT talents. We've seen it. We know it. Like I said, guys, if you're going to call in 315-371-4367, that's 315-371-4367. We have a history of that. But we also have our success. We have individuals who've come to the main roster. May not be the success that you wanted. May not be the success that equates to what you guys feel would have been high level a caliber of big runs. But you look at the Nakamura's. He had a Royal Rumble win. He had a WrestleMania moment. He had his Intercontinental title run. Okay. Yeah, Samoa Joe got into a big storyline with AJ Styles. Won the United States title. Should Joe have gotten more? Yeah, we all think that. But still a success. Sami Zayn, come on. Sami Zayn came out of NXT, went into the main roster, and still killing it. Still one of the biggest heels in the promotion, still polarizing, and is still involved in it. The problem is with a lot of you guys, especially when it comes to WWE, I don't even think it's fans, because the fans, true fans, just want and enjoy what's going on, or, have their gripes, and which as well as you should, because, not everything's going to be great. The problem is that you think everybody should get a fucking push right out the gate, or everybody should be fucking great out the gate. Everybody should be fucking having a title. Everybody should be the world heavyweight champion, or the universal champ, or the right out the gate. But you know what happens when that when that occurs? The fan base diminishes, because once you get that satisfaction, once you get that climax, once you get that orgasm of accomplishment, then what happens next? There's always the hunter and the huntee. The huntee is usually the champion, where the hunter is the number one contenders, or the heels that are going after the face champion. They're the hunter. They're trying to get that. And the hunt is usually better than once the accomplishment is done. In many cases, in a situation, it could take a long, hell, if you guys are old wrestling fans, ECW, Tommy Dreamer's, his whole run ran for 2.5, 3 years, and fans still appreciate it and remember it. Tommy was always chasing Raven's bullshit, or what he was doing, getting involved in, and it always mixed and matched, or whatever case was going down. But his story went for 3 years. WWE, they give you short spurts, or sometimes intertwining long spurts. But everybody wants quick satisfaction. Everybody wants the clickbait, the social media grab. Karrion Kross comes out, debuts, because everybody was going, oh, they don't even acknowledge that, these guys were NXT champions, or they had NXT runs. Why would they? Does anybody fucking talk about Kobe Bryant's fucking high school championships? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about LeBron's AAU or high school accomplishments. Regardless of how they want to, frame it for you guys, NXT is their minor leagues. WWE does not want to acknowledge it, because they know that product is generally better when it comes to wrestling. They know it. And you know how they put it on the table? They let them win the fucking Survivor Series bullshit a couple of years ago. They know that the product's better. They know that their talent is better. They're not going to acknowledge that. Otani just is a fucking he's a fucking icon right now in baseball right now. He's a man child, a wonderkind. You think anybody's talking about what the fuck he did in Japan? That shit doesn't even matter to anyone. All they give a fuck about is what he's doing in the MLB. They're not gonna fucking acknowledge NXT. But this past Raw, they did. They let the champ come out with his belt just to show that he is their champ. Okay, so they put him in a match with Jeff Hardy. Now everybody's like, all right, Jeff has been having a bit of a spell. He's been on Main Event. He's been, seeing some losses lately. Jeff is 40 something years old. Him being in the business since he was 15 years old. Even he knows what he needs to do in wrestling. He knows what his role is. It's just that simple. He comes in. Turnbuckle Tabloid, who's this?
All right, Jay, it's Ben from England. How you doing, mate?
Hey, Ben, what's going on, sir? Long time no speak. How's everything going?
Yeah, mate. All good, all good.
By the way, I love that Bel Air jersey you had on the other day. Spot on, mate. Spot on.
The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. I've got two, but one of them doesn't fit because I've got them both from Wish. One fits, one's like a boob tube. So,
does it look like a does it look like a man's ear that you have on?
It's like a second bra, so I can't wear the other one.
But I said, look at my man over there. Looking good. Like I like the look.
And I got the black Jordan, Chicago Bull Jordan one, like you've got as well.
Oh yeah, look at you! I'm telling you. When I see my mates overseas embracing the not only just our sports but the world sports, makes me feel good. Makes me feel good.
No. That's good. I aim to please.
Just how we us Americans try to fake ass like soccer. We just find.
I mean, it makes me cringe when you say soccer, but there you go. I accept it because I'm used to it by now, so it's all right.
So Ben, did you watch Raw yesterday?
Yes, Ben. No, I have watched the highlights of it. So I obviously saw what happened. So I watched the cross match. I watched Nikki win the title. I watched all like the main bits anyway. So yeah, I watched the majority of it. Yeah. So
my thoughts about going into the Karrion Kross situation was like you put him in a ring with a ring vet. Now, mind you, everybody's sitting there talking about, well, he's their champ or whatever, right? What makes people think that him going into the ring to squash Jeff Hardy would do anything for him? Doesn't do much.
Well, this is the thing with me is like what people don't understand is that could actually be the start of Killer Kross getting a massive push, because they could be like, oh, he's crushed everyone in NXT, which he has. He's just got embarrassed by Jeff Hardy. This might flip the switch and he might just start beating the living piss out of Jeff Hardy. People have jumped the gun too quickly. They automatically think, right, he's lost one match, that's it. He's squashed, we're never going to see him again, that's it. This could actually be a really, really good thing for Kross. It could be the start of his first proper feud on TV every week. And who better than a guy who's been, I mean, I can't stand Jeff Hardy anyway, because of all of his past things. I mean, I watch Impact, so I saw Jeff Hardy come out drugged up to his eyeballs and had to lose in 8 seconds. But at the end of the day, he's a seasoned veteran. There's not many people you could put Kross in a ring with that he's going to, be kept safe in there. I actually think now that he's been on the main roster, I think he's going to be on the roster more, and I think he's going to have a good feud with Hardy, and I think he's going to win that feud 95% out of 100. So it's just wrestling. It's just wrestling fans shooting a load before anything's even happened.
Right, and someone I was conversing with on social media, they were like, they had this thought process of what will be the purpose of it? The casual wrestling fan are coming in and to see someone who came in with a belt just losing to Jeff Hardy. And I said, you just answered your own question. The casual wrestling fan doesn't know Karrion Kross. They know Jeff Hardy.
Nope.
So the first thing they'll see is, oh shit, Jeff Hardy's on TV and he just beat this big dude. That's cool. And then come to find out that the next couple of weeks, every time that's going to happen, Jeff is most likely going to get his ass beat every time. So
yep.
That becomes the polarizing aspect of this angle, to what not only you get that, you'll also get the building, like you said, of a madman. The other thing,
this is the whole thing about the Charlotte Flair winning, because I didn't watch it, but I was keeping up to date with it, and a friend of mine was like, why the fuck have they put it on Charlotte Flair again? She's winning all the time, blah, blah, blah. And I said, they're either waiting for a Becky return at SummerSlam, and she'll either, come in at the end of the match and that'll be the feud and everyone will love that because Becky's coming back, or she will lose a title the next night. So everyone shot the load because fucking Charlotte won, but now everyone's shooting the load again now because Charlotte's lost. So people just need to be, patient, because Cross, when he come in, I was so excited. I was like, fucking damn right. His entrance was mint. Scarlett's always good to look at. And then he lost, and I was a bit pissed off because, I do keep up to date with NXT. He's smashing everybody in NXT. He looks like a monster in NXT, and then he loses straight away. I was like, oh, that's a bit crap. But then when I thought about it, I was like, well, that's going to trigger him to become an absolute beast, and he's probably going to win every week then.
But you look at it as well, the way he lost, that Jeff actually had to pull out.
Cheat.
Because he knew that it was going to be a problem. It's like people don't look at the science and how things go about with this. It's always, an instant satisfaction, because I said, damn if you do, damn if you don't. He loses, it's a problem. He wins, it's like, oh, poor Jeff, you're beating, once again, a legend like Jeff is getting abused. And it's like, come on, guys. So, what's the other aspect is, well, who else? They didn't have to use Jeff. They could have used somebody else. Name somebody on the roster they would have used. Umberto Carrillo?
That's it. The only other person I would have maybe put him in there against, because he's wrestled in plenty of times, and it wouldn't affect him either way, is probably Morrison. But it's like, there's not really a good storyline there, is there? Like,
no.
Morrison's just going to get twatted every week, and people aren't really that bothered about him. Jeff Hardy's a different story, and he can take a beating as well, as we know. So I don't have, now that I've thought about it, I was like, oh, that's crap. But I've been watching wrestling since I can remember, so I can understand. I'm saying this like it's actually going to happen. It'll more than likely Karrion Kross will fucking lose to Viscera, even though he's dead, next week. So, that might happen. But I'm just hoping they do what I think is the right thing, and is, to build him up to have a feud with Hardy, which would be good.
Right.
I'm with you though, mate. The wrestling fans, they're like any sport, soccer fans are the same. We're all dicks. We all know better. Wrestling fans, they all know better. Difference is, you're still going to tune in and watch it. You moan about, I don't personally, because I don't have the time, but I keep up to date with it, so I know what's going on. I know who's winning. I know the feuds. I know the champions. I just can't bring myself to watch it because it just bores the shit out of me.
Yeah, I always go to the analogy that if you continue to watch the product and you don't like it or you hate it, it goes to the fact that it's like you keep returning to the ex-girlfriend that keeps fucking you over. You're a fucking sadist.
Yeah,
you're a sadist.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Like I said, the Cena thing, I'm happy with. It's cool. He's back. Biggest heel versus biggest face. I think that's perfect timing, because I think WWE's been getting a lot of shit and a lot of flack recently, and I think I didn't expect it, to be fair. I'm up to date with all social medias, and I heard nothing about that. So I think that's perfect timing to bring Cena back in as well, and it shows how much the guy means to the fans, because people boo the fuck out of him 5 years ago, and hated him, and now all of a sudden it shows how good of a job Roman Reigns has done as a heel,
right,
that the fans popped for Cena like that. So I'll definitely be keeping my eye on it, and I can't stand Goldberg, so I'm not bothered by him.
Ben, as always, thank you for calling in. We missed you, man. We haven't heard from you in a long time. I hope all is well with you and your mum, and everything's going well with the show as well.
Just busy working, mate. I'm off work from Saturday. I'm off for 10 days, so I'm just going to lie in my pants and do absolutely fuck all. So,
you and I are celebrating the same thing. We're both on our vacations. We're both doing our thing. So, once again, thank you for calling in as always, and hit us with a mook before you go.
Mook. There you go.
Yeah, you were never good at it. Thanks.
See you later.
Later, Ben.
Ciao.
I like I said, it's everybody wants instant gratification. And mind you, like I said, I'm probably one of the harshest individuals in the podcasting game who gives WWE the shit that they deserve. But when it comes to getting a feel of what is going to occur, like, listen, 5 weeks from now, if Karrion Kross is on our screen and he hasn't won a match yet. You know what? You're right. They deserve the shit that he gets. The WWE deserve the shit that the fans are going to get. But it just started, and there's an possibility to open up something with him and that loss. There's a possibility of opening something with Lee and that loss. There are possibilities there for these people and more on this roster to do something. But before I let you go, the biggest thing the WWE universe, the fan base should have done was when Vince came out on that stage on Friday night, they should have booed the fuck out of him. Y'all talk all that shit about Vince and all this stuff that he don't give a fuck about the fans. He hates his wrestlers. He's a bad businessman. He doesn't give a fuck about nobody. But as soon as he walked out on that stage, everybody and their mother was cheering the fuck out of him. Y'all should have booed him out the building. But what do I know? I digress. So, guys, stick around. I'm going to do a Slammiversary rundown as well as what happened in Money in the Bank, our thoughts, as well as other things. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. And for you guys who chimed in on the Facebook Live, thank you guys for checking in. And we'll be back soon for that as well. So thanks again for you guys and your time as well. And keep listening, keep watching, and download, stream, and subscribe to Turnbuckle Tabloid on all the social media outlets as well as on all the podcasting outlets. As for that, see you guys soon.
Hi, this is Evander James, most honest man in professional wrestling, and you're listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid.
Perfect.
And you can trust that.
Even better. Thank you, sir.
So continuing our run here on Turnbuckle Tabloid, we're going to go into this past week's Impact Slammiversary. I guess you could consider it their SummerSlam and whatever it is. You know what it is that a lot of people... It sucks because when Impact was TNA and such, it was actually a fun show to watch, and then you got a lot of the guys who left, and management just went to shit, and then we couldn't find it anymore because it wasn't on Spike. It became a whole shitstorm. But Impact has found a way to still survive the storm of lack of viewership, lack of ratings, lack of talent, poor storylines, and then you bounce back and you get Don Callis, you get Sami Callihan, you get Tessa Blanchard. There was a lot of moves and shakes that showed that there was a possibility where, the promotion could come through, and, you get the hit and miss for the promotion, but still it's another outlet where you can watch wrestling, and far be it to say with all the hiccups that occur there, the show's still there. It's still around. Freaking Impact is like the cockroaches of the nuclear fucking bombings. They'll still live on, and it looks like it's still going on to this day. So with Slammiversary 2021, we had an opening match. We had Havoc and Rosemary defeating Fire and Flavor. I predicted that Havoc and Rosemary would take it. It's one of those things with these tag titles in Impact. It could go either way. It doesn't really matter. The titles with the women is just I guess you could say it's like the 24/7 title in certain ways, whatever the case may be, or you could say it's like a hot potato. But either case, the women who are taking it, they're talented and they show some kind of, I guess, promise or maybe there's some kind of legitimacy to it. Who knows? I don't know. But other than that, you got Havoc and Rosemary from the Decay as the new women's tag titles, knockout tag titles. Then we have the X Division, the Ultimate X Division the Ultimate X Division championship match where we had Josh Alexander, Petey Williams, Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Raju going at it. And this was a fun match. I got into it for a while. one of those matches that you did not know whether or not if it could go anywhere. I had Austin, Ace Austin in this match because I really think that this is a guy that he's held the belt before and he held it well. But I really didn't think that they were ready to move on from Josh Alexander. But sure enough, he retains. And Josh is a really solid wrestler. He probably was a little bit outshined when Ethan Page was there, but him being on the solo route right now, it seems as though that's working for him and his benefits. So I have to say that give credit where credit is due. It was a fun match, and I believe that Josh was a guy who deserved to get the W here. Then we had Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green, who was the surprise partner for him, versus Brian Myers and Tennille Dashwood. It's to be honest with you, I mean, who really cared? I mean, it was predictable. The match wasn't really that good. It was okay. I get where the heat is and where the rivalry is, but it goes whatever. It's fine. We get Eddie Edwards versus W. Morrissey, which I'm in very, very high regards to seeing Morrissey get the recognition that he should be getting in Impact right now. He's if you guys don't know, that's Big Cass. For those who don't follow, as a former Big Cass from WWE, I think that this is his road to redemption, and I think that it's well deserved for him to start making his ways back. Eddie Edwards is the guy to do it, and Eddie Edwards is the guy to help put him over. Nothing much to really discuss about in this match, but that's not to say that it wasn't a solid match for Morrissey to go over with, but I expect more from him, and I see that he could be possibly in that mid card, possibly main event card kind of run for him upcoming. Finn Juice, if you guys don't know, that's David Finlay and Juice Robinson defeats Shearer and Madman Fulton. Typical tag match for me. Didn't see much that stood out in this match. I actually expected more from Finn Juice, but what more can you say? You get a promo for the arrival of Aiden English, which is, I think this will be the right place for him, and I think it'll be a fun place for him to work. Chris Sabin defeats Moose. How? Why? Moose is on such a big run right now. He had a great push going on. I don't know. I don't know why this would happen. To me, I would figure that Moose was going to be the guy that would be on a top tier to take the belt off of Kenny, but okay. This is what I say when it comes to Impact. You just don't know, especially with Chris Sabin. Okay. The Good Brothers, they defeat Violent by Design, as well as Eric Young. Rich Swann, Willie Mack, followed by No Way Jose, and I'm like, really? We called him No Way Jose? Okay. I guess it's just them trying to just unify the whole elite kind of nonsense, and let's just say it's foretelling. We pretty much could predict that. Deonna Purrazzo defeats Thunder Rosa to retain the Impact Knockouts Championship. Good match. It was a good match. You're not going to expect anything less from either one of these women. Wouldn't been one of those matches that I could be like, ugh, I could go to the bathroom or go get me a beer. But no, Thunder Rosa shows that this is why that she is held in high regard for her being a women's wrestler and just a wrestler, period. Deonna Purrazzo, I still say that sometimes I watch her and she looks as though that she's a step off or two, but for some ways she still makes it work. But with that, Thunder Rosa wasn't able to pull off the championship win. After that, we get Mickie James to come out and confront Deonna, and I'm like, okay. But Mickie invited Deonna to be a part of the NWA All Women's pay-per-view next month, which she's going to produce, and we'll talk about that later in another episode because I have some opinions on that. Deonna shoves Mickie, and then Mickie hits her with the chick kick, and it's whatever. And finally, we get the AEW World Championship match. We have Sami Callihan versus Kenny Omega. And as much as I'm not a fan of the death match kind of steps and shit like that, because it's a no DQ, it kind of sells your wrestler short when you can't have them put in a straight wrestling match. But of course, you go to what Sammy's heavy is, and which is he loves to be the hardcore kind of guy. We saw the usage of the pizza cutter on the forehead kind of thing, and with what we hear from the buy rates and all the shit, nobody cared. Nobody really gave a fuck about it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell these guys. I think that this whole Kenny as the Impact champ is a bust. And, I know you want him to be the belt collector, but it's a bust. Until finally, at the end of the match, once Kenny retains the championship, we get an appearance from New Japan's own Jay White. I'm a Jay White fan. I love Jay White, but and the crowd goes mild. Unfortunately, I don't know. I didn't see anything where it would gravitate for me to continue to watch, although I am a Jay White fan, and I don't know. I guess it's gonna take me some time to warm up on it. Then we hear some other news later on, so we'll talk about that on Around the Square Circle and such. But other than that, we are leading up to Money in the Bank. Shorty, what you drinking? So, Money in the Bank, we had the pre-show. The pre-show had the tag team titles on the line. We had the Mysterios versus the Usos. Shocker to me, because I didn't think that they would actually pull the trigger and do a belt change where we saw the Mysterios lose the titles. One thing that I have to say is that Dominic, for his first time in front of a crowd in a pay-per-view, did a fantastic job. Solid matching. The finish of the match was a little bit suspect for me, but all in all, I'm not upset with the outcome. It's cool to see. Now you see that the Samoan family have the titles at this point. So it was a good look to start off Money in the Bank. We also get the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I wanted to hate this. I go into these women's ladder matches wanting to hate these matches, and honestly, these women they showed up. Even with Natalia and Tamina in there, I'm like, oh, why are they putting Auntie in here? But honestly, with Zelina, with Liv Morgan, with Naomi, I was captivated. I was into this match. And with the shocking end, because who the fuck saw this coming, Nikki ASH pulls out the W and snagged up the fucking Money in the Bank. I was like, holy shit. Wow. I was actually looking for Liv to get it, because on SmackDown she has such a strong following. I was like, okay. But I'm a big Nikki Cross fan anyway, so I was like, okay, that's a good look. It didn't seem that obvious, but Nikki pulls out the W, and you heard my rant early on in this episode, and you found out what happened. But I think it was well deserved, and I'm so happy for her. Raw tag team title match. We had AJ Styles and Almost versus the Viking Raiders, and nice pacing in a match, especially after the women's title match. It was a good pace for the match. It wasn't out of the stream. Gotta say that Eric looks like he's losing some weight, and it's helping him out with how he moves in the ring. Not to say that he wasn't an agile big guy, but him losing the weight and it looks like he's building a solid frame. I'm like, oh, okay. I noticed that. I was like, oh, look at him. Good for him. Especially after what he's been through. I can see that this tag team, if Vince decides to say that he likes tag teams again, I can see this will be a team to be reckoned with. I like that. AJ and Amos is not going to be together for too long. As much as we hear about Amos and who he's working with behind the scenes and such, I'm like, okay, this is not going to be a guy who's going to be consistently on television every week. He needs to be a novelty, and it should be that way. We also have the big WWE Championship match. Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston. I couldn't take this match any other way unless Bobby was squashing him. And as well as it should be. Listen, we all love Kofi. We loved what happened when he won the WWE title and shit. And we were all on board with it. I popped for it. I was there at Mania when it happened, and I loved every moment of it. But for this, come on. There's no other way we could run it. This is the way it had to be done. Kofi had to take the lumps and have Bobby fucking punish him. And then, of course, after that, that body beating, everybody and their mother was upset about it. But it was like, what else did you expect? What else did you want? I mean, honestly, we had a Raw Women's Championship match, Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, and I thought this was the better match than what we have seen previously besides their WrestleMania match. This actually made more sense. The storytelling was much better, and it almost had me convinced that they were turning Charlotte. I had to, for some moments in that match, it looked like they wanted to do a double turn there. If they were smart, they could have, but they didn't. And the way that the finish occurred, a lot of people complained. It was like, oh, she hit her with the chair and the knee, and there was no DQ or whatever. But once again, a lot of stuff that happens outside the ring, the referee doesn't fucking call anyway. So what did you think? But at the end, you get Charlotte as your new Raw WWE Women's Champion. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match. You have Big E, Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, King Nakamura. To me, I really thought that Drew was going to get it because I thought the storyline would have been that it's an easier path for him to get at Bobby, since he can't challenge for the title, but loophole, Money in the Bank. But fun match. The way that Mahal gets involved, drags Drew McIntyre to the back to move him away from the match, and he's no longer seen. It helps to build that thought of who's gonna get it next. And I guess easily with the breakdowns was gonna be Big E, and it was great. It was a great storytelling. It also was a big pop because I know the audience and the fans loved it. So it's exciting to see what's gonna happen with Big E in the title. And finally, we get the Universal Championship match. We have Roman Reigns versus Edge, and great match, possibly match of the night for me. Edge still got it. Like, you always tend to sit there and worry about him because of the history of his injuries and stuff. And then with Roman got the I can say the emotion of the crowd. It wasn't that he's a cool heel. You heard the booed Roman. You heard the fuck you Roman kind of thing in a good way. It wasn't that face Roman where everybody was tired of him. No, it was that good Roman. And this match was exactly how we would expect it to be. Two pros in it, tearing it out. And even with the referee bump and such, it made a lot of sense. I didn't see any flaws in this match. Seth comes out and intervenes towards the end and throws Edge off his guard, in which he loses, and Roman retains, and then we hear the sound of what many would have hated maybe 5-6 years ago, but got and generated a humongous pop now. We get John Cena coming out to close out Money in the Bank. I have to say that this whole pay-per-view, besides the fucking Peacock being a shit and fucking up before the men's Money in the Bank, lucky for me, I know other outlets to watch this, but other people who don't, it's fucked up that you can get the full essence of it. Have to say that it was a legitimate, solid pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. I popped for the Money in the Bank winners. I popped for the Roman and Edge match. I am very excited about what moves forward with the Samoan family and their dynasty. And what else is on the table? So other than that, I have to say that Money in the Bank was a solid pay-per-view, and yeah, if you guys haven't watched it, and I probably spoiled it for you guys who are listening, just watch it anyway because it's still fun. So don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around. We will return. See you guys in a second.
Hi, this is the Reverend Bob Levy, and you're listening to Turnbuckle Tabloid. Yeah.
So, to me, I always find that when I have comedians on the show, it's a mark-out moment as much as I do when I have wrestlers on the show, because I'm such a big stand-up comedy fan. I've been a fan for a while, since childhood. I think my mother's is a bit off because she would have me watch stand-up specials with Robin Williams, Carlin, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, and I'm like 7-8 years old, and everyone is laughing at these adult jokes, and I barely know what the hell what they're talking about because, you know, a little bit young for the mature content. But I was gravitated by how they will pull an audience to what they're saying. It was always remarkable for me that a person can do that. I just saw you recently at Eastville when we linked up, and it so happened I said, let me just walk up to him, and he, you know, you had your Geek Out shirt. I said, yeah, this guy's got to be a wrestling fan. I said, he's got to be a wrestling fan. And from what I realized, a lot of the comedians that I've run into are wrestling fans. What was your first love, stand-up or wrestling?
My first love was definitely wrestling. I remember it was 1992, WrestleMania 8. And for some reason, even before I saw this show, maybe because they were just big pop culture icons, I knew Hulk Hogan, I knew The Ultimate Warrior. Those are the only two people I knew. And at the end of WrestleMania 8, you saw it was Hogan versus Sid, and then Papa Shango comes out, and they're beating up Hogan. And then all of a sudden, the Ultimate Warrior's music comes in, and he's running in. I'm like 5 years old seeing this man in tassels help this other muscular man fight this like voodoo dude and Sid, who just looks like a guy. And then like, once I saw that and saw them like celebrating together, I was hooked. Like, couldn't stop watching after that.
For guys, comedian Kyle Lewis is sitting in with us discussing his love of wrestling, but as well as we'll delve into also his world of comedy, as well as his world of geekdom, because I smell it on him. I smell the geekdom on him as well. I smell a gamer as well.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I smell a gamer there. But yeah, I remember being a fan of wrestling. Wow, as probably as long as I've been a fan of stand-up. And like you said, when you get those individuals who just are these out of this world kind of characters, it was automatic for me to watch, like see a wrestling corrections officer or an individual who ran around with face paint on, or a tag team who had a bulldog as a mascot. You couldn't help but just like watch these guys. But have we lost that this day and age with the the new age of wrestling that's happening now, that we lost these big name fixtures and gimmicks and characters?
Maybe yes and no. I think it's a little harder to do now. I think back in the 80s and early 90s, you kind of accepted that wrestling was this larger than life, like character Saturday morning cartoon style show, especially coming on at least in the 90s after like X-Men. Then you had wrestling, so they kind of like complemented, and American Gladiators. They kind of complemented each other with these larger than life characters. And I think we've modernized things so much with the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression and everything else that it's kind of hard to accept these larger than life or like out the box characters like Nikki Cross or Nikki Ash, for example. It takes you a little bit longer. Maybe just because we're older now. Maybe younger kids like took the Nikki Ash right away, but it just takes us a little longer, and the patience is smaller, not just with us but with companies to get those characters over. But then you have people like Orange Cassidy, who is a solid wrestler and an amazing wrestler, but like he's a character. It's a complete character, and a character like that people gravitate to so much because not only is he's despite his attitude larger than life, but he's relatable. So I think it's like a mixed bag. You just have to have like good larger than life characters and not like weird ones.
It's funny you mentioned it when you speak about how the Nikki Ash character, it quickly would gravitate to children as opposed to adults. It's reminding me of what I'm watching on social media these days, where you have these older individuals whining and bitching about Space Jam, the new version, as opposed to the Michael Jordan Space Jam. And it's like, you guys are 40. Why would you even give a fuck how good the movie is when it's not even catered to you? It's not.
No, it's not at all.
It's not your movie.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I just did comedy Friday, Saturday. Well, I hung out Friday. I was out all night, not trying to sound cool. It really happened. And then Saturday, I did my monthly show, Character Select Comedy, and then like also was out with friends, drinking, having a good time. So Sunday was my chill day. So you chill, you get over your hangover, watch some Space Jam 2. It was perfect. It was the perfect combination.
Yeah, and there's even individuals who broke down stats like they did.
Oh God!
Jordan went 22 of 22 as opposed to LeBron who went 4 of 5, and I'm like, guys, this is making me not like any of you anymore in the world. It's like I never liked you anyway. This is not helping the relationship between you and I. But yeah,
I wish it was done as a joke, because if you do it as a joke, it's funny. I remember seeing a YouTube video of like the last scene, or like a Twitter video about the last scene in one of the Airbuds, and they're like making fun of the fact that Airbud is traveling and the Airbud's doing this, and he's like, the shot clock violation, right? And clearly it's a joke. But sometimes these people make these YouTube video essays and they're so serious and boring, and then you guys like, I understand you got to get your revenue, but please do something else.
I also think there's a lot of time in people's hands that should be done, like maybe planting flowers or picking up dog poo or something to make the communities better.
And gardening is it now. Some plant moms and plant dads. Why not?
Yeah, become a botanist. It's fine. You can do all that stuff. But yeah, I try to explain. I went on a rant on this episode where I try to explain to the listeners and individuals who watch wrestling and try to dissect it. And I go, especially when it comes to the promotions, it's like WWE is Disney, guys. You're not getting wrestling. You're getting fun attractions. You're as opposed to when you go to AEW, it's Six Flags. You're gonna get on the Scream Machine. You're gonna get on the Nitro when you go to AEW. Whereas with WWE, you're just gonna get the teacup. You're gonna get the Hall of Presidents. It's a whole different world, and for you to try to even complain, I'm not watching this anymore. It's like, yes, you are. You're a sadist. You enjoy it. You enjoy the. You enjoy.
They got everybody back this weekend. Once the crowds came back and
Right.
the surprises that they did, and the more surprises that they're gonna have, everyone's gonna be at least dialed in till SummerSlam.
Right. And that's my premise. I mean, the same can be said when I'm watching a comedian coming out of this pandemic era, and we'll talk about that with you. You don't do your good shit when nobody's around. You save your best shit when you're in front of people. How was it that you were able to muscle through the pandemic?
With the pandemic, it was a lot of Zoom comedy. At first, you were like very excited to just be doing any type of comedy, but then it feels like, to me, it always felt like I was doing the weather. I was just like standing behind this, like I have like a blue wall. I'm standing behind this wall. I'm using my hands. I'm trying to get people engaged, and for the most part, people would listen, but like you wouldn't hear the laughs, which is what you need. You wouldn't hear the laughs, or you hear delayed laughs. Or I remember one time this happened. Somebody started singing, or someone's mom started singing in the background while I'm trying to perform. I'm just like, what? And then they like ended up cutting off all of our mics. But unfortunately for them, the show, when they cut off my mic, I just started talking about like Black Lives Matter, so they looked really racist for a second for cutting me off. They apologized. It was a complete accident, but it left a funny moment. But I think it was a challenge for all of us, and I think especially New York, we adapted because the outdoor shows came around real quickly. Whether we should have been doing them or not, they were there, and now they're still a staple now. Like my show now is an outdoor show until the weather gets too cold.
Right.
But that wasn't an option a year ago, 2 years ago. That wasn't a thing people were doing. So I think we just had to get through it. Hopefully we won't have to go through this again. And that's how it was.
Yeah, I have comedian James Maddern on the show. He's a frequent guest.
Oh yeah,
here.
great guy,
big wrestling fan as well.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell the story of how I met him because we were when Eastville was in the East Village, actually, before they moved to Brooklyn, and he was emceeing, and he spotted a gentleman in the crowd, and he says, "I'm not fucking with this guy. He looks like Jay Lethal, the Ring of Honor television champion." And I just started laughing. I was the only one laughing, and he just pointed at me. He goes, "This guy knows what the fuck I'm talking about." And I said, "I gotta get him for my show." I said, "I gotta get him." But it's funny that it does go hand in hand, and I always ask comedians this question, like, how is it that that wrestling associates with stand-up? It's how I always want to ask the perception of the comedian. What do you think makes them go hand in hand?
I think we all just secretly want to cut promos and not wrestle the matches. And that's how we get to do it in stand-up comedy.
Just talk the shit and just not have to be in the match.
Exactly. Talk the shit. Be the Bobby Heenans and the Jimmy Harts and stuff of the world. Paul Heyman's. So that's what, I think it's just that kind of energy, that vibe. You have a crowd listening to your every word. You got to be entertaining. You don't want to go up there and be unfunny or creepy or racist or anything like that. But I think it's just that similar energy. Like that crowd is there to see you. They're there to see a show, and they're there to see you. So you got to put on the best show possible for them and for yourself. So they want to see more of you, and it just kind of has the same energy as a wrestler minus the violence.
And you also have to deal with the biggest obstacle to deal with as a wrestler and also as a stand-up comedian is the crowd. Because I'll tell you one thing, it's funny because when I'm at a wrestling show, I will heckle the fuck out of anybody. Like I would give wrestlers shit, and I know my lane when I do it. When I'm at a stand-up, and especially when we were at the show this past weekend when I saw you, there was an obnoxious group of people that were in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
My peoples, we know who they are, my peoples. And I have such respect for stand-up comedy that I was literally just like ready to get the fuck up and be like, yo, would y'all shut the fuck up for real? Like, really, y'all fucking up my vibe. Dead ass. And I could see how individuals think that they could be part of the show because, like I said, I do it in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You guys handle yourself really well when it comes to that. Is it a natural ability? Do you cut your teeth with years of experience? How is it that you could go back and forth when you get obnoxious individuals in the crowd?
I think it definitely takes practice for people. Some people are better at it than others. There are some comedians that will go up there, and some people frown upon it, but they don't even have material. They just fuck with the audience, or they see a heckler and they can fuck with that heckler for 10 minutes and get gold out of them. Like, and in that way it works for them. But you should never go to a show and be like, I'm going to be, it's for comedy. Like, that's where we're not wrestlers. Like, we don't need, the only interaction we need is laughter, or unless you're called on, you know? You don't need somebody jumping in and be like, oh, I was there too. Or, well, I remember this woman. Thankfully, she did not come on when I think she came on. She came in right after I left. I finished my set.
Yeah.
And there were some parts where like it would help the comics a little bit, but then like that was maybe like 1% of it. Most of the time, she was very, very obnoxious, and you got to know the rules when you're coming to a comedy show. Like, you can't be doing stuff like that. But I think it's a matter of experience, because some people definitely don't want to deal with hecklers. I haven't had to deal with a lot of them, but I usually try and just play with them a little bit and divert back around. Thankfully, I haven't had somebody that was like wanted to get up and fight me yet. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think. I think that it takes some time for everyone, and some people are just so good at it.
Yeah, like I said, I've always heard the phrase when it came to wrestlers, and I believe it was Scott Hall or Nash who made the mention of where the job as a wrestler is to keep you entertained, to keep you focused on the match. If we're not doing our job, then you have the right to say what the fuck you're gonna say. Like, it's all about keeping you focused on what's going on. If I'm not getting your attention, then I'm not doing my job. I think the same could be said about comedians when it's in that realm, but it's also another thing where everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to do their thing. What
They want their moment.
Yeah, everybody wants their moment. What was it that drew you into stand up?
Well, I always like making people laugh. I was always I was more like a writing kind of person. I used to try and like act out. And then, like, I remember getting really shy when my voice changed, when I started to sound more like this, because every time I spoke, I was one of the kids whose voice changed like first in like middle school. So anytime I said something, people were like, "Oh my God, he sounds like this, he sounds like that," and like, rather than embrace it, you know, you just kind of like, "Oh, I'm a monster." Like, you sound stupid. Like,
Don't look at me, I'm hideous.
Exactly. I did not use it, especially, I could have used it and been very popular with women, but I was not emotionally there yet, mentally there yet. But I would focus more on writing. I liked writing scripts. I liked writing stupid things here and there with my friends. And then one day I was thinking about stand up, and it's weird because I didn't watch a lot of stand up. I watched things here and there, but I was thinking about it because I was doing like a job that like I could do in my sleep, so my mind was just wandering. And I was thinking about stand up and thinking of myself doing stand up, and I was like, that's new. And then one day I took an improv class, and I took that class with a bunch of stand ups, and they were like, "Yo, do the stand up comedy class. At least you'll see if you like it or not." And a lot of people frown upon classes, but a class will teach you, at least the classes when they had them, will teach you to not suck for at least 5 minutes. Because a lot of people think they can go up there and then they got nothing for like, they'll say they're 1 joke, 2 jokes, and they got 4 more minutes to fill. So that class teaches you how to at least be good for 5 minutes. And then if you never do it again, you got your tape, you did it, congratulations. Or you continue doing it and keep moving forward. And I did it. I had a great teachers, and I had a great group I did it with, and the rest was history.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do it, and I still say I'm gonna at least do one open mic before I'm taking off this planet. I gotta do it at least one time. And I've people always tell you should do stand up. You should do stand up, and I was like, you should get hit by a bus. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, no, but I've always had that appeal to it, and I have material written. And it's funny because before the pandemic, I actually went and bought a tapestry of a brick wall. And
Okay.
I have a mic stand, and I was actually gonna do stand up on like Zoom or like Facebook Live, just to like test the waters to see if I could get like a feel for it. And this was pre-pandemic.
You went straight. I was saying you went straight to hard mode. No.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
I was gonna have the whole look go, the whole motif. I was gonna have like the one a spotlight hit me and like two Jews walk into a bar, like kind of shit.
Yeah.
Right? But then the pandemic hits, and then I started seeing everybody's doing it. I was like, shit, I could have patented this. Fuck. It's
You
gonna
could have been the
happen.
first one.
All right. But when you get on stage for the first time, you figure that I got my set, I got a good 7-8 minutes, and you ready to go. Do you expect that you're gonna eat shit, or do you just figure like fuck it, I'm just go out there and whatever happens happens?
The first time I did it, I remember part of the class, one instructor was like, don't go to an open mic, because one time Louis C.K. went to an open mic, he bombed, and he didn't do stand-up for like 20 years.
Right.
That was a story he would always tell. But then our instructor, like our actual instructor, was like, try the open mic, like just try one, see how you like it. You still got the class at the end, but like try not to go up there blind. And I remember I went with a few of us. We went to the open mic, and I remember being like, I had like a Tinder joke it was 2014. I had a Tinder joke at the time, and the comic that went up before me, said a Tinder joke, and I was like, oh no, how can somebody else have the same joke in comedy? Like,
The nerve of him.
Right? But I have a Tinder joke. No one else is talking about this. So I went up afterwards. I just remember not being able to see anybody, at least at the open mic I was. It was just brightness and nobody. And that day I went for it, and they were giving me laughs, and the laughs they could have been timid laughs even, but like in my head it was like it's at the friggin' Apollo that day.
Wow, it's 7 years, right? It seems like 7 years. That's a nice run so far.
Yeah, it's gonna be 7 in September, like officially.
Do you remember the first night you really ate shit?
Oh man, when was the first night I really ate shit? It was I do. It was Eastville actually. I had friends come. I was in the bringer phase, and the bringer comedies, especially if you first start out, people will reach out to you and they'll be like, "Hey, you're really good. Come on my show, but you have to bring like 5 people."
Right.
And those are, I don't even say they're good to do anymore. but if you have people that will actually want to see you, maybe do one, or maybe do one that's going to like actually benefit you. Because I and many others fell into the trap of being like, well, they keep wanting to see me, but I only have to bring my friends. So you're bringing like all your friends every week, and they're spending like $100 on tickets and drinks every week for you to say the same friggin' jokes over and over. But I remember this one in particular. I had friends, and I had a friend who like came up from Minnesota, not from me, but just to like see comedy. And they bring me on stage, and what the club did, sometimes anybody would come. Sometimes like another, like a more famous comic would have to come up, and they'll give them time. So I get on stage. I'm told I have like 7 minutes or something. I'm ready. Minute 2, they're giving me the light. I'm like, what happened? And then I get the light, and like I have to like rush through whatever I was saying. People were like, didn't care about anything I said. I got off stage, and then they bring up Jim Gaffigan. And which I understand. That's great. But I think the producer was fairly new too.
Right.
So I think the producer made the error of like, it's not like, I could have finished. Like it would have been fine. Like the more I know now, like the more I've produced, like you had time for me to finish. it cut me off at minute 2. Like it sucked, and I just remember being like, oh.
For guys who don't know, when you get the light, it's basically telling you it's time for you to wrap up your set. You know, a lot of for people who don't know in stand up. I remember
I was frantically getting the light, so I thought I did something like bad. I was like, it's like, what happened? But they're like, I was like, everything okay? They're like, yeah, Jim Gaffigan's here. I was like, okay, like I could have finished the freaking set at least.
It was funny because I remember
5 minutes.
I was hearing a story. I remember when Artie Lang was telling his story about when he was doing a set early on, and it was almost the same situation. And he was there. He knew one of the guys from SNL, and he was there doing his set. And he got the light quick, and he's like, "Fuck that! I'm not getting off." And he just kept going. He beat the light, and he just kept going and going. Come to realize they were flicking the light for him to get off because Chris Rock wanted to get on to do a set, and this was when Chris was at fucking bring the pain level kind of shit. And it's like, you better. And he ate so much shit backstage. It was in the fucking green room. It was crazy. I try to correlate when I speak to comedians, like I mentioned earlier, wrestling and comedy, because we see a lot of comedians who love wrestling, but also wrestlers love comedy. Like we've seen Dolph Ziggler doing stand-up. We see Mick Foley have his sets. Is there any wrestlers, past and present, that you felt that would be doing killer shit in comedy and stand-up?
I don't know. Maybe he's really dry, but I find Bret Hart funny. Like I think Bret Hart's funny. Like I don't know how good. I don't think
he's a bitter, dry human being.
He can be very bitter at times, but I love myself some Bret Hart. I'm wearing a Bret Hart shirt now. I think he would have a slower set. He would not have the traditional rules of comedy,
right?
But I think he has the way he talks sometimes. Like when he talks about punching Vince McMahon, he already has sets. Like when he talks about punching Vince McMahon in the face after Survivor Series '97. He's like, and I balled my hand up, and all I could think about was 15 years. I've been working for this guy for 15 years. As my fist went up to his face, like he's already got his setup. So let's put Bret out there on stage.
I look at guys like I was just recently watching the Broken Skull Sessions, and Kevin Nash was on there, and just the way that he weaves a tale and the way he speaks, it's that slow drawl, the build up to that crescendo of getting to the climactic part of a story. I remember listening to him do a shoot interview, and he's talking about when he stiffed Arn Anderson, and the interviewer was like, "So what happened?" As he goes, "Well, afterwards we were there and bit of a match, and all of a sudden Arn comes running out with that crowbar." You want to call a receipt? So I look at guys like him. I look at guys like Scott Hall. I say these guys can really go into comedy easily. I
saw Jake Roberts. Was it Eatsville again? It was. Eatsville.
Yeah, actually, it was funny because I saw the picture hanging, and I was like, "Wait a minute, no, really?"
He had some great storytelling shows.
He's another one. Yeah.
Almost got to work with him, but my job at the time, we weren't able to cross paths and make it work in Dallas at WrestleMania.
Right.
But I was very, very close to working with him on stage, which would have been awesome.
Yeah, he always has some great stories for story time on the network. I loved his Andre stories or the Randy Savage stories he have. He's another one that worked well in that world. I actually did I know a promoter who wanted to mesh the world of stand-up and wrestling, which, by the way, it's not a good look it sounds nice, but it really doesn't. Yeah. And I helped bring in James Madden in there with a couple of other guys. So it was like stand-up first and then wrestling after. And on the same build, Farouk, Ron Simmons, and Billy Gunn were there. Yeah, it was I was emceeing it, so it was the first time that I said, let me try. I had about 5 minutes. I said, let me try what material I had, and I went into the whole spiel about my daughter's my daughter's mother, and the how the crowd is and stuff. And wrestling fans don't want to hear stand up. They just want to watch wrestling. They don't give two shits about. It's like, guys, we're almost done here. Don't worry about it. Just got to get through the set. As soon
Did
as
they know? Did they know it was wrestling and
they
stand up?
knew, but they were just still like, yeah. When are we going to see Billy Gunn and Ron Simmons? Like, they didn't really give a shit. So when I got out of the ring after I said I go to my daughter, who was maybe about 8 or 9 years old at the time. So I said, how did Daddy do? She goes, you were awful.
No.
But it was great though. I was like, there's nothing like that feeling of being out there. I've always liked to perform. When did when you're finally getting in the groove of comedy, when you're on stage and you're clicking, how often do you find a way that you could gravitate away from your material and just like feel like, fuck it, I could freestyle for a little bit here?
Mostly I stick to what I'm saying just because of time constraints. I usually do that, but I mean, even the show you saw me at, I was a little more loose because like it was an intimate crowd, which is a nice way of saying there wasn't a lot of people there at the time. And I'd already like I was talking. I think you saw me talking to it's on my Instagram too, talking to those to women, a married couple, a church going married couple,
right? And
then her sister just trying to like talk and like crowd work and like flirt, gimmicky flirt. I wasn't trying to actually shoot my shot there. and then her response, and then going off of her response. But it really depends on the situation, and like I try and make my sets, especially if I know friends are coming, at least a little different every time. So whether I'm changing like a word, a whole part of a joke, whether I'm a little more loose, I don't want, even though you're supposed to like keep your same set, I don't want someone coming to see me like 5 times and I'm saying the exact same thing 5 times. I will always want something different. So I try and play around. So yeah, sometimes I'll play around, but it really depends on the time and the type of show. If it's my show, if it's the character select show, I'm a little more loose.
Right.
And I usually have, I'm the host, so I'll try and pick up on something that somebody said during their set and play off of that if we have time. But if we don't have time, it's also just kind of do your stuff. And if somebody allows it for you to say something, then by all means, go for it.
Originally from New York?
Yeah, I'm Brooklyn. I feel like you always have to Brooklyn, born and raised.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, born and raised.
Oh, but believe me, I'm the same way. Hey, although I live in Queens, everybody asks me, where you from? I go, Brooklyn. You got to.
Always.
You got to. Where in Brooklyn?
I grew up in East New York, and now I live in Canarsie.
Ooh. It's like,
Slowly moving on.
Exactly. We're slowly progressing.
Yeah, slowly. The last gentrified parts of New York.
Yeah, I grew up in Williamsburg, but not the Williamsburg that's now. I grew up in the shit Williamsburg where I was praying for gentrification, and I was like, hurry up, guys. I'm about to go. I
remember I never used to take. I remember the L train. They were like, take the L to get something. Like I refused to take the L train. I was like, I'm gonna get killed. I'm gonna get killed on this train. I don't know this train. And now it's like my go-to method to just go anywhere.
What do you mean?
Go to Williamsburg,
East New York. I mean, come on. Do you not remember where you grew up at?
I know. Like I was mostly safe in East New York. I definitely had people like approach me and try to jump me and stuff. But like
pink houses. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but most of the time, I think I was so familiar with my area. So going out to a different area, I'm like, I don't know this place.
The biggest thing you guys had that happened during that era was like the Linden Cineplex.
My God, yeah. People would get shot over there all the time. It was fucking wild.
But you know, being a young black man who enjoys the geekdom of our culture, our pop culture, it's kind of similar to me because I've been a fan of all the things wrestling, comic books, and all this stuff. How was it that how did it work for your benefit growing up in East New York?
It didn't. No, I think for the most part, people liked wrestling, at least for a little bit, and then they liked it again for the Attitude Era, so no one really cared. The other thing that was really popular was Dragon Ball Z,
right,
which I still love to this day. So like those two nerd things were like always gonna be like, if you liked wrestling, if you like Dragon Ball Z, there was always somebody that like liked it too. Especially like growing up in high school. But like other things like Sailor Moon or whatever, like don't even mention that. Like you're gonna get beat up if you talk about the other anime.
Yeah, you get into Vampire Hunter D and shit like that.
Yeah, no, you can't be talking about those unless you're with your specific crew.
Yeah,
but I was always just like myself. I was a nerdy kid. I think people in high school knew it. And in my neighborhood, like I didn't mess with a lot of people, so they're just like, oh, that's just Kyle. You know, I was a kid that listened to rock music early when it was like quote illegal end quote, and then like Linkin Park and Jay-Z came along and it was fine all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't dare to tell anybody you was listening to like Alice in Chains and shit like that.
Nope. Yep, that was not a thing. I remember my brother had Metallica, or my brother, he went to a school in the Upper West Side. I remember he brought one of his friends over, this white kid, and I remember the stares that everyone gave him as he's walking down the street with this white guy with long blonde hair, like the metal spikes, the all black, the metal boots, and the multiple parachute pants pockets and stuff. And everyone was like a cartoon. Everyone's staring at him like he's like like an alien because he's walking around East New York with this white ass dude.
And he didn't get the kid didn't probably even give a shit. Like he just
nope.
This was like nothing to him.
It was nothing to him. They were just talking about like rock music, and everyone's staring at them like is he in the wrong place? Like they had no idea.
You mentioned the Attitude Era, and a lot of old school wrestling fans really they're like, you know, they really need to bring that kind of stuff back. And I always tell people, to be honest with you, it wasn't really that good. It's like, was that your era? What was your era of wrestling? Like, what time?
My era was actually first New Generation. Like, I came in, I saw Hogan and Warrior, and then Warrior left slowly after, like maybe 6 months after WrestleMania 8, and Hogan came and went with Yokozuna. So I grew up on the Bret Harts, Shawn Michaels, Undertakers, Diesel, all that stuff. And I was a kid, so like work rate didn't mean anything to me.
Right.
I just liked who I liked. Mostly the faces, sometimes the heels like Shawn Michaels or Razor or the Hollywood Blondes in WCW, people like that.
Right.
So I started with that, and then like as I became like a teenager, of course the NWO, Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, all that. Which I think that argument about the Attitude Era, it is true. A lot of it does not age well. A lot of it is not good. Sometimes very entertaining just to watch like the segments, but the full thing not good. I think one thing they need to bring back from the Attitude Era is somehow the ability to have everybody over, because 99, 2000, like Too Cool was over.
Right.
Kai and Tai was over. Like, everybody was over except for maybe S.A. Rios. Like one or two people.
Yeah, S.A. Rios wasn't over, but yet his valet, Lita, was the one that ended up going over.
Yeah, Lita was crazy over. I liked S.A. Rios, but no one else. I was like, he got cool music. He does movesaults. Why not? But I don't know how you'll ever get that back. I think they just have too much television, and everyone, you're so used to at least in the WWE, you're so used to everybody that you get bored of Ricochet. Like, you get bored of him real quickly because he's out every week and he's like losing every week most of the time.
Right.
Like, you don't care towards the end. But that's something that any company can benefit from, where like most of their wrestlers are over, and that's something to take away from the Attitude Era.
Were you able to at that time period click onto Channel 31 and watch ECW like at 1 o'clock in the morning after Friday night video, video music box and shit?
ECW, it was funny because ECW, my brother and I, we caught it in the summer. It was like the summer of like 95. We were just flashing channels, and I think it came on after MSG. It was on MSG, and then we saw Cactus Jack. No, we saw like Marty Jannetty. He was there for some reason. Mm-hmm. And then we saw Cactus Jack. So we're like, we know these people, so let's watch this show. Because we used to also go to the back of the TV guide and just, it's how old we are, go to the sports section and look for whatever wrestling was on.
I did the same thing, and I always was trying to find where would wrestling be, and it's always like in the nook of the TV guide and shit.
Like, you watch these IWCCW and all these other random ass companies. But yeah, ECW came on, so we saw that. And then so you see the people that you know, like Mario Jannetty, Cactus Jack, and then that's when you get introduced to Raven, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Johnny Polo, and then the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer. And one thing that really stuck out to the both of us was the music, because the music was just different. Right. We didn't know that it was licensed music. We had no idea, because we were like, I was still young, so I wasn't listening to like hip hop. I wasn't listening to like any type of music really. I was listening to WrestleMania the album. God bless my parents for having to deal with that and like a Goofy movie soundtrack over and over again. But that's when that same guy I was talking about earlier, the metal dude, my brother was like, yeah, so like this guy ECW, and they have this guy the Sandman, he comes into this song, and the guy's like, that's Metallica. And then on Raven, that's Offspring, and that's Alice in Chains. And then he opens both of our worlds to like actual rock music, real music that we thought was just wrestling music.
Yeah.
Which then expanded to like music in general. So ECW was a big part of my childhood.
That's funny that you say that you know, because a lot of people would take the hardcore violence, the personalities, the Rob Van Dams, the laid back. Not many people say how the music actually drew them in and also made them a fan of something outside of the wrestling. It's like I like what as much shit I give to AEW, but I like what Tony Khan is doing, where he's buying these songs and he's making them crowd anthems, which should be the entrance, the music in which we love our wrestling. Hell, another one bites the dust was WWE used it at one time for Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
You had Eye of the Tiger by for Hogan when he would come in years ago. So it's true. That is missed. That is a facet of wrestling that we need to see back.
It definitely makes it a little more special for wrestlers. Even to the point that it may not be like you're buying licensed music, but somebody said it. I mean, look at Monday Night. Jeff Hardy coming out to the song by his old No More World song. People lost their shit because they're like, oh man, like it sounds different. It sounds like you're a big name. Edge was the same way. Batista with Saliva. Like not everyone's gonna have that, but like,
oh man, shit. When Punk came out with Cult of Personality,
yeah,
goodness,
another one.
Oh shit,
it just makes you seem like a little bit special, more special.
Yeah.
Triple H and his multiple Motorhead songs.
Yeah. What are you liking these days in wrestling? I know we just spoke about AEW. We was watching tonight. What's the positive that you give? Because there's so much negativity on social media, and on this show, there's so much negativity. No, but
it's hard. I think especially this pandemic era, quote pandemic era, end quote. It was hard. I always like the tribal chief stuff when it comes to WWE.
Yeah,
I like the turn in Roman Reigns. I like all of that. I like Bianca Belair, of course, too. I liked at least her side of the women's division. This week, they got me because Nikki Ash, I was when I first saw it, I was like, this is so stupid because there was no build to it. I remember like it driving me nuts that like all year she wanted to like get Alexa Bliss back. Now she's finally in a match with Alexa Bliss, and they don't even mention now they're just gonna be buds. Like that's it. No one's gonna talk about like the past year, and now she's a superhero. Like it drove me nuts just from a storytelling standpoint. Like I don't need everything. Just tell the story that y'all already told. Finish the story. But when she won the title, I'm cheering my ass off for her. So they got me there. AEW, I'm liking the Adam Page stuff has been brilliantly done. And I hope that the payoff needs to be him winning at which one is it? All In, All Out? I can't remember what they call it. All Out. All In was the very first one.
Right.
Yeah. The payoff needs to be him winning at All Out. What I hope they don't do, because I've heard some surprising names that may show up in the company someday. I hope they don't ditch those plans to please those names.
Right.
And have like a Kenny versus one of those names matches. I do not do that because that's your hottest story. I like how they're using Sting Sting, I thought was never gonna wrestle again, and here he is jumping off of like giant casino chips,
just gingerly walking to the ring.
Yeah, he can gingerly walk to the ring, but then he'll jump off of giant chips and like be like awesome there.
Yeah.
What else do I like? Their women's Britt Baker, of course, is doing great. Women's division in general, although I don't like that like Hikaru Shida has suddenly disappeared. Like she lost one match. Like why is she on like the web show? Like put her back on.
Yeah, and I think I complained about it last week on the show. I said Britt Baker's music is too face for me. We got to get her more of a heelish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's too much. She gets too much of a pop when she comes out.
I don't know what they want to do with her. I think she's just Britt Baker. You're gonna cheer her one week, you're gonna boo her the other week. Like this week she was like the baby face. Then next week who depends on who she feuds with.
Right.
NXT right now I think is the one. I like seeing Joe, but I feel like NXT is just floating. You know what I mean? Like people are there, but like I can't really. Colin O'Reilly was good, but I can't think of things that are standing out from NXT.
Well, actually, this past week, Theory and O'Reilly, in my opinion, was actually really good. They were going for match of the week. I'm in the same boat that I love the matches, but as for storylines and angles on NXT, it's just like, nothing's really captivating me except for Joe and Cross. And I always tell people too, like if you're gonna watch wrestling, there's MLW, there's Ring of Honor. That's where you're gonna find the catch wrestling, and you're gonna see solid matches there. But you got, like I said, you got Six Flags, you got Disney World, you have all this going on.
All these other theme parks now. I mean, you got, like you said, MLW, ROH, New Japan's always going to be around. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with the Olympics and if they're even having the G1, because I know their cases are up and stuff.
Right.
G1 usually takes a lot of people's attention.
And then Ibushi's out now, so apparently he came down with an illness, so they said he's going to be out for a while. Not too long. They said maybe till the end of the month or something. But still, he was a factor in for a lot for So it's
Impact.
Yeah, Impact now. That's interesting to me right now with them being the melting pot for all the promotions. I'm going to be paying close attention to that when leading up to Bound for Glory. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work. But other than that, I before I let you go, there's just a few things I just wanted to go into. Was who was the comedians that drew you into comedy?
Comedians that drew me into comedy, definitely. They always say it. In fact, they always get canceled. But, it was always Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, I know it's the base answer, but he's always that guy. Like, there's a reason why if he shows up at a comedy club, if he shows up at Eatsville, you're gonna sit there for the 4 hours and watch him go through all of his material because he's captivating and hilarious. And even if it is something that like doesn't resonate with you, you still want to see how he gets out of it, or not gets out of it, how he works with it. Other people who gravitated, I liked Ron Funches, because Ron Funches is also a nerd like me and a wrestling fan. So like sometimes I watch guys like him, or I watch like comedians around here like Nori Davis, who's building up himself, and they're like, sometimes, because you remember like James Madden made the joke about wrestling and like, it pops you, and sometimes you don't want to make those jokes because you that's the exact response you're gonna get. Like only one person will get it.
Right.
The confidence they have to be